Hi everybody, this is the Website Boy from the websiteboy.com, and today I want to introduce to you the do while loop. And the do while loop is gonna do something before evaluates a condition. If you before evaluates something to true, just like the other loops, we are testing a condition, and if that condition is true, we execute the code. If it's false, we do not continue looping. Right? We do not loop around. Or we stop looping when that condition turns into false. All right, so this is how it's done. Let me show you the syntax. The first thing is that the do while is gonna do something before it tests the condition. So in between these curly brackets, so we write the do while like this. We write the do first, then we open and close the curly brackets, and then here at the end we test the condition before it finishes. All right, so what do we want to do? Let's first create a declare a variable, and I'm going to call it number 1. I'm going to assign it to 0 because I want to start somewhere with a loop. And I'm going to say, look, as long as or while number 1 is smaller or equal to 10, I want to do something. All right, but we're not going to do this first. I'm going to just put it down here, but I want to do something first. So I'm going to say print f. When I use the printf function, I want to say, you know what? Well, first let's just put a formatting string. We're gonna put a placeholder, ampersand, and the number 1. Actually, not number 1. I'm sorry. D for integer, comma, and then the number 1 right here. What I want to do is I want to print number 1, which is 0, before I test it. Once I print it, then I want to test it to see if it is smaller or bigger than 10. If it is, then on the next loop around I want to print it again. But we first gonna print it before we even test it. So it's gonna print anyway. In the last conditions, in the last while loops, if this condition was not true, we would never see the next code. All right, but this one we see the code before. This is useful just in case you want to, like, I don't know, make calculations and ask the user some information, and based on that information, then we loop around the information and create some other answers to that question that they have, or we solve a calculation and then we want to loop around and check to see if it was a mistake was done. I mean, we can do a lot of things to whatever information we're getting before we loop around that. So the do while is useful for some things. Now you're not gonna see it as much as the while loop and the for loop, but you will see it often there. So it's better to know it. So anyway, let's go ahead and let's run this. Let's save it first and then run it. Build and run it. And now this is a very interesting thing that I wanted to show you, and is that, as you can see here, the loop is going around unlimited, indefinitely, infinitely. It just keeps going around. Why? Because, let me just cancel this, close. This is the problem. This condition is always going to be true, because number 1 is equal to 0, just like the while loop that we did in the last tutorial. Number 1 is equal to 0, and it's always going to be equal to 0 unless we increment it. So we need to increment it, and we increment it right below here. So we say number 1 plus plus semicolon, save, and then we run it. Now we made a mistake here because it says use undeclared variable, of course, because we didn't write the number 1, we just wrote number. Build and run it, and then boom, then we get the results of that loop. Now, do you see a problem here? We printed out the ampersand D, and the reason why is because it's not an ampersand that you have to put in there. It is a percent symbol. All right, so make sure this happens when you don't get enough sleep, and well, when you don't get enough sleep, enough set. So I'm glad that at least when I see the mistake, I'm able to recognize it right away and know that something is wrong. All right, so these placeholders do take some time. If you don't program in C, it does take some time for you to actually find out, to learn it from the, from the palm of your hand. So make sure that you put the percent sign. And this happens to me because I just program in so many different languages that it's only a matter of time before I make mistakes. So, but the good thing is that I'm able to catch it right away. All right. So we're gonna run it, and then we see the loop 0 to 10 running. All right, and it stops at 10 because then the condition evaluates to false. Anyways, I'm gonna leave that mistake there. I could just go ahead and easily delete it, but I wanted just to, when I make mistakes, I like to leave it there so that way you guys can see the mistakes that I make and see how I can find the solution for it. All right, we are not perfect. We're programmers, but we make mistakes, and we make them often. If not, we wouldn't be programmers at all. We would be robots, and we are not, right? And even robots make mistakes if they have a bad controller behind the brain. But anyways, that's a different topic. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you like it, please show it to me by putting a like on the video or favorite. All right, again, thank you for your support, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.